Welcome back to another episode of Podcast Tepi Pantai. Yuk Ngobrol Santai. In this episode, in this very special episode, we're joined by Pak William Ciputra and also Ivan as our guest star. And today we're going to take you further to understand more about the experience living in Tabanan. Okay, so without further ado, please welcome this Pak William and also Ivan. Right. First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for your time, Ivan.
Thank you for having me.
Allowing some time to join us at this podcast today. How's the weather lately in Bali?
Well, we have an amazing mixture of hot weather and rain. So, warm, to say the least. Let's hope we're gonna slowly blend into the dry season soon, because a little bit too hot for my liking.
I see. All right. How long has it been since you first arrived in Bali?
Well, I have arrived on the 29th of October 2016. So 6.5 years.
6.5 years.
Yeah.
And how do you find it easy, like adapting to life in Bali?
Well, you have to learn how to drive a scooter really well. I mean, it's just another place. I mean, there are difficult sides, there are easy sides. I mean, one surely can adapt. I mean, surely I have to evolve slightly from the normal climate I'm used to your climate. But otherwise, I'd have to say quite smooth transfer. Everything is here. I mean, everything that you need is here.
Well, I'm pretty sure the beautiful landscapes and also the warm hospitality from the people around, it also helps you settle quicker and get used to the lifestyle in Bali.
Yeah, that is actually something that is quite special about Bali. The fact that local people, even the ones that are less wealthy, are super friendly. And if you get into some sort of ditch or, you need help, the guys will never charge you money or try and extort something from you. They'll just help. You offer them something, they're like, no, it's okay. You know, this is first for me. And I've been around the block a few times, 75 countries visited. First time I witnessed this, you know. It's
nice.
Nah, we don't have money, we don't need it, it's fine.
Yeah. Bali really is paradise. Besides, of course, the beautiful beaches, the nice warm weather, the people there are just really friendly, and I'm sure they have been very helpful in making you feel welcome into this place. So I guess, besides enjoying the island, could you just walk us through your day-to-day life here?
Well, nowadays it's mainly work. I prefer to work from a co-working place or from my home. Lots of the work that I do on WhatsApp, so I'm just basically stuck somewhere in the corner. Gym. Thankfully, there's a lot of really good gym facilities. Really, that's my day. Wake up, breakfast, work, gym, dinner. Weekends try to get out as much as possible to the mountains, to the cooler climate. Yeah. But thankfully my work also involves me going to the mountains quite often. So of course there is a big part of restaurants and nightlife, but I'm not that much into it. I can't talk a lot about it. But there's many things to do. You have all the water sports, the diving, free diving. Yeah.
There really is something for everyone.
That is true.
Yeah,
there's
really
many things to do if you look into it. You know, it's just I'm a boring guy. You know?
But prior to living in Bali, have you ever stayed in another country before?
Whoa, we're gonna need an extra half an hour on the podcast. Bali is the 13th country where I reside.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a long trip around the block. Yeah. Because I studied in 4 different countries, and then because of my work I traveled a lot, and lived in a couple of countries in Africa, lived in China, lived in States, UK, Switzerland.
Wow.
So Bali is just sort of my final stop. I'm tired. I want a home, I want a home base.
I see.
So that's why I'm here the longest. Yeah. I never lived anywhere as long as Bali actually.
And what do you think what's the unique experience that Bali can offer compared to the previous 13 countries you've lived before?
Diversity. Crazy diversity. Because you can find people speaking any language from any part of the world, almost doing any job. It's like any kind of professional skill. Then of course, you have all year round it's endless summer. I mean, like, some can say it's bad, some say it's good, but it's a fact. I mean, I enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, what else can we pick up on?
Yeah.
Diversity is yeah.
The water is always warm. I mean, you can do water sports all year round. That is a nice change.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, another thing that many people don't realize, Bali is an excellent travel hub. Nura Rai is way more developed than you would compare to an airport in Phuket or in Boracay or something like this. Like, it's a good place to travel from. I mean, if you get your visa sorted, I mean, you have Australia, you have Korea, Hong Kong, Japan, like many interesting places really close by. And I mean, you can pretty much pull off a weekend trip, like 4 days, 5 days, and it's going to be fine because it's not too far.
Yeah.
So, geographic location is really cool.
Geographic location.
It's interesting you mentioned Phuket before, right?
Yeah.
It always hits different when I go vacation to tropical countries like Philippines and also Vietnam.
Yeah.
What about you, Paul?
Yeah, there's a plethora of options in Southeast Asia on which to be in tropical paradise. So I'm just wondering, again, why Bali over these other beautiful places?
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
Really infrastructure, and specifically because Bali has been settled by bule, by foreigners, since 60s the Aussies started coming. And that sort of made big communities of foreigners here that significantly contributed to the quality of hospitality here. So I mean, you have guys here like French, Italian guys who are my contemporaries who've been born and brought up here, who speak fluent Indonesian and some Balinese, and they have restaurants, hotels, and I mean, those things are on really high level, you know? And I mean, it's something you would not expect going to Asian country. I mean, you would expect, I mean, something, you know, more of sort of rustic vibe, you know, something more chill. And here you can actually find lots of things that are like in London, you know, like in United States, like top notch. And this is really the big difference for me, because if you want nice burrata e crudo, you get your nice burrata e crudo. It's not a version of it; it's the real deal. And I mean, you don't need to fly to Italy for that. And I mean, like, for me being Russian, I can get really good Russian food here, really easy, you know. And that is that makes it like this little bit more comfortable, especially if you live here permanently, you know.
I see.
Because eventually, I mean, even the paradise, you become homesick. I mean, like, everywhere, the most perfect place, you want a little bit of that, you know, reminds me of who you are, you know?
Yeah.
Right. So before we move on to the next topic, talking more about the real estate investment,
Yep.
if you can sum up, what's the one thing that's going to be your favorite part of Bali and why?
If you have to narrow it down,
Yeah.
you can only choose the top thing. Can you do it? You can.
It's difficult.
It's difficult.
No, I mean, it's difficult to say because many people don't realize how different the Bali is, you know? That, I mean, you cannot compare Bugedugu to Kedungu, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's very, very different. But I mean, now, of course, I mean, the area we're currently in is, I mean, it's up and coming, has really good potential because of the so far affordable land prices, availability of shoreline that is completely built up. You know what I mean? You still have rice paddies here and everything. And it's all still affordable, and yet it's 30 minutes drive from the hustle and bustle of Canggu.
Yeah.
So for me, here at the Tabanan coastline, I would say it's very interesting, to say the least. If you are into the ocean, into the surfing, if that's your vibe, you know? I mean, that would be sort of my assessment. Me personally, I like cooler climates. So I mean, that's why my project I'm doing in the mountains, you know, like I like the fireplace, the hot tub. This is my vibe, yeah? But I understand that Bali originally came up as a major tourist destination because of surfing. Most of the people that are here because of the waves, because of the swell. And that's actually what separates you guys from Phuket and Boracay. You have surfing here, you know, and that's the backbone of the industry. And here, surfing lovers, and this place here, I would say, time to get some land.
Right. So, you know, 2 years ago, we faced a hard time during the pandemic, right? Like most industries struggle to survive, but in this country, like the real estate industry is a very popular one and considered as one of the safest and most stable investment by majority of the population. So, how popular is real estate investment back in your home country?
Well, I mean, you see, it's hard to talk about, like, there's two ways to go about it, yeah? Because, I mean, you can get real estate investment in the sense of you just buy a property and you let it sit there to appreciate. And I mean, in most stable countries, it is quite popular. I'm not sure if we qualify as stable country anymore, but back when I lived there, you know, it was quite popular. I mean, also another way of investment that is seriously like existential there is buying and reselling properties, in a sense that you enter a deal with a developer on an early stage of construction and he gives you a really good price. You put down 20-30% and then within a year the construction is almost finished, the value is way higher and you sell it off. And that is a very popular business model, especially considering that the government used to give special loans to buy the houses, so you could use the money, super low percentage of interest from the government, get a couple of apartments at an early stage, and then just turn them over, flip them in 6 months at already a higher, sort of higher value. And that would be, I think, the most popular type of real estate investments in Russia that I've seen practiced. Because like seriously, like the price that you give a guy before anything is dug on the land and the price that you have for a completely finished property, it's very different. There's huge margin, you know.
I see.
And how popular is it in back in Russia, like people investing in overseas?
Very popular.
Very popular.
Very popular, because I mean, since the break of the Soviet Union, there is always the notion that, you know, all of this can come back, and people want security. People want security in stable countries, in stable economies, and that's. I mean, Russians, depends on the region of Russia, yeah, of course, because Russia is a very big country. From the European side of Russia, people have been looking a lot and investing into European real estate, like French, England, like London. London became half Russian city, you know, because it's a good place to park money in real estate. So it's definitely very, very popular and very sort of common thing to buy something abroad and to own a property abroad, yes.
Yeah. So, I guess what I need to ask is that during the pandemic, people had a lot of idle time. And especially a lot of young people had a lot of idle time. So they would try to invest things that were very highly speculative. So, I guess tech stocks, cryptocurrencies, as you know. But as things have started to wind down, and people have started to retreat into safer forms of investments such as property, do you see these young people starting to transition towards property?
The thing is, I'm afraid the young people don't have the money for that transition. Because I mean, like, you know, to do the crypto and the stocks, you can have a really small capital to play with. And also there is such a thing as leverage, you know, when you trade. In order to be able to buy a property, I mean, you need to have some cash saved up. And young people, I mean, at least millennials, I mean, well, we're not young anymore, but anyway, nobody really has any savings, you know?
I see.
That's the thing. So, you know, to come and bring 100, 200,000 on the table is pretty tough. And if your credit rating is not really good, I mean, it's hard to borrow in your country.
Okay.
So, I mean, and now especially considering the specifics of Russian reality,
Yeah.
I mean, like the Russian banks are partially sanctioned, so it's really difficult to get the money out.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a big gamble if you take a loan in Russia, somehow transfer it here and buy something, you know? So, yeah, for the young people, I think they're all renting now.
They're all renting.
Yeah.
Because the ticket price is high and there isn't really financing isn't so readily available.
Exactly, the financing vessel is not really there, because I mean, of course, some guys that are paying whatever 15 mil a month now for accommodation, they would love a leasing option. That I pay you 50 mil a month for the next 10 years and it's mine, but I haven't seen a single place that would agree to that, you know?
Okay, that's very interesting. I see. And so, I guess if we see the property market is very hot here in Bali, and there's a lot of foreign investment, but I guess could you take us through how a foreigner would invest in property here, because I'm sure you go to any new country, the laws are always different and it's very intimidating. You have to figure all this out yourself.
Yeah.
So could you just provide some guidance?
Well, I mean, of course, again, depends what kind of investor you are. If you want just your own home, or you want to park your money, or like what's your interest in the real estate here. But I think everything begins with a quality consulting agency, and that is, I mean, really hard to come by. I mean, it took me trial and error to see the people that actually know something and not just making things up. So I would definitely recommend to first get good consultant on, get good consultant on board, and then already explore the possibilities with all of the, the possibilities to own the land, to rent the land. I mean, you really need to look deep into this before you can make your final decision. That's I mean, due diligence here, because I mean, as you know, Indonesian law, I mean, it's very not transparent and user-friendly. Some things are not clear. Some laws contradict each other on different level. So, I mean, if you're European and you come here, you're like, wow, So definitely need a local to explain you, trustworthy local.
Yeah, I see. Because the terms like freehold, leasehold, hakpake, that's very intimidating to learn.
For sure. It's like I mean, it's complex. It's not that easy. Let's put it this way.
Ivan, so like it's interesting. Pavilion mentioned about leasehold and freehold and stuff like that before, right? What do you think is the most preferable option if, for a leasehold deal from the foreigners?
No, I mean currently leasehold is the most straightforward thing. I mean, leaseholds are generally done for 25 years. I mean, from my subjective experience, one of the lawyers that I used to deal with told me that there are instances of leaseholds that are over 25 years long being successfully challenged by family members of the owner of the land. But 25 years and under, no cases exist, no precedents exist. That's why 25 years is considered quite a safe bet. And I mean, if you're considering making your property a business, I mean, even with the management company fee, you're going to break even after 7 years, for sure. I mean, like, if everything is in order. So, I mean, in 25 years, you have to extend the land at market price if you want it, and that can be very costly because the prices are soaring. But realistically speaking, you're getting your money out in 7 years, and the other 18 years, you can either sell them or you can keep making money. So, I mean, investment-wise, I mean, considering that Bali is a tourist destination 12 months a year, people from both hemispheres come, number one tourism is from China here. I mean, you can just make good money by not selling the asset afterwards. You can just milk it for 25 years and be very well off.
Alrighty. I mean, let's discuss further about Tabanan and also Ciputra Beach Resort. Like, you had a stroll around before this podcast, right? You've seen the designs of the houses. Well, we understand that through the years, big developments in Bali are shifting towards from Kuta towards the west part of Bali, from Kuta to Seminyak, Canggu, and well, Tabanan has been issued as the next big development in Bali. Well, at this point, we're really happy that the government infrastructure program, like, it shapes Tabanan to be a strategic area, right? Because with big potential. And knowing that you've been here for almost 7 years now, what unique experiences does Tabanan offer compared to other areas in Bali?
Well, I mean, again, all areas are super different, I mean, I cannot say that here it's more green than Sidaman, of course, yeah? But I mean, considering, it's like, this place has the views and the rice fields of Ubud. And the infrastructure of Canggu is very close by. So, I mean, from my perspective, if the mistakes of Canggu and Seminyak and Kuta are learned, and what I mean is like the general road building, that the road infrastructure is actually made for cars, not for bikes, this can be a much more attractive resort area than Canggu Seminyak. Something like Nusa Dua, but more casual, yeah? Because Nusa Dua has very good roads, you know? I mean, like, there is no problem there with traffic and everything else. So there is huge potential here. There's already infrastructure within vicinity. If there is more infrastructure projects here on the spot, it might attract small investors, you know, people just building their own hotels and blah, not hotels, villas and so, bring more vibe to the area. But yeah, I mean, great nature, great beaches, I mean, great surfing, still clean. The big question in Bali, clean. So that's another big plus here. And of course, I mean, there is the north of Tabanan. You can go to the mountains. Go to the mountains.
I said it's cool.
So doubled with the, you know, what we can learn from Canggu and all the nature around. You think like Tabanan has a big potential?
No, I mean, definitely. I'm just really hopeful that the lessons of Seminyak and Canggu are learned, and that people, you know, they make allowances for the roads to be widened within the villages, and so the access from the main arteries, from the main road arteries, is convenient for cars. You know, that you don't have to choose a bike over a car, because the car is just not an option because of the traffic. It would be nice to have something like kind of Gold Coast or like Miami vibe, you know, where like everything works, you know, traffic lights, everything, no hustle, you know, because of course, I mean, bike riding is one of the most fun and most stressful things about Bali, because you have to do it, and it's a risky business. You have lots of people with no license, we have lots of drunk people, you have lots of really bad quality roads, you know. So I mean, at some point I enjoy it, at some point I'm like, I wish today I wasn't going to risk my life, you know, like I wish today I just took a subway or something, you know. So yeah, I mean, you guys here have an open land, like open plan. You can, like with collaboration with Tabanan government, I mean, you can really make a paradise here, you know, like, and this is the time to do it, because it's still not, there's no development, no urbanization here to that extent.
And in recent years, like, we find a lot of overseas real estate exhibitions in Jakarta starting to build up, you know. There's a lot of overseas real estate exhibitions in Jakarta. It's getting more common. Like, people come to buy apartments in Singapore, apartment in Australia. Like, where can people purchase these sort of overseas real estate investments in Russia? Like, do you guys go to agents when you want to purchase?
Yeah. I mean, there are several big real estate agencies based in Moscow. Now, some of them are shifting their business focus to Dubai, because most of the, well, not most, but a few of the very wealthy individuals and wealthy families, they're moving their business, like their residence, let's put it this way, to Dubai, because Dubai has no affiliation with the sanctions, and it's a very developed place. So now lots of Russians basically buying stuff in Dubai, buying property in Dubai, and now the agencies are really concentrating on that. And because it's really easy access, 5-hour flight, super developed place. So now this is kind of, if you want a Russian real estate agent, you go to Dubai. That's what happens now. It's like that, you know, because most of them like have their offices there.
I see. All right. I guess, can we talk about the Jupiter Beach Resort project? We recently had the opportunity to bring you around our development. Could we just get some first impressions for you?
Well, I mean, it's all very organized and well built, so it's very refreshing. It's very nice. I mean, I'm very happy that you're thinking about the infrastructure, the shared infrastructure with the clubhouses. Yeah. It's super important. I mean, the fact that you want to make commercial spaces is very beneficial, because as I mentioned before, I mean, if there is a possibility to get some cheaper than market commercial space here, I think lots of infrastructure will come here by itself. It will just see the potential, because you're such a big player, you're gonna have so many people living there. That's it's a great market. Why not? You know.
If because right now we're still in the process of developing this area.
Yeah.
What do you feel should be the next step? Our next priority, what we should develop other than maybe more housing? If you have to,
Honestly, I'm gonna say something crazy now, but I'll give it a shot. In Bali, there is a lack of recreational park space. If you have the land for it, even if you go to Denpasar, you cannot find a park area with big trees that protect you from the sun and just walk around in the shade. Here the sun is always on you, you know, so like if there is a opportunity to make, I mean, several tens of hours of just recreational space with big leafy trees like teak or something, and make some infrastructure under there, I think that would be almost the first, because it doesn't really exist for some reason. Like even in Denpasar, you see the parks, they're just big lots of green grass. The sun is burning on top. And I mean, here you have the possibility for that. And of course the infrastructure. I mean, you need the restaurants here. I mean, not even the shops, the restaurants.
F&B.
Yeah. F&B, yeah, the restaurants. I mean, I don't know why also, I mean, maybe because of the law, but you know, all of the cinemas are in Denpasar. Like, it's a thing. I mean, I go to cinemas. I mean, I don't know about the tourist people, but it's part of being comfortable in 21st century, you know? I mean, hopefully you're going to get a road access here directly to the toll road. That's going to be a great thing. I mean, yeah, I mean, something like maybe, you know, water bomb, great success in Kuta. Water park, only big water park. And I mean, from my experience abroad, the big aqua park, water parks, they're normally built a little bit outside the urban area because land is cheaper, you can make really big. I mean, here in Tabanan, something like this could really happen, because half an hour drive from the super populated areas, and here you can really make it not as cramped as Waterbomb, and like now it's traffic and blah blah blah, small parking plot. Here you can really make something cool. So I mean, you know, things like this that will bring people, it's like, yeah, I want to live here, it's comfortable, you know. Maybe a co-working connected to a big gym. Nobody's done that yet, you know, like where you can work, eat, and do gym. For me, it's like one-stop place. 9 a.m. I come, 9 p.m. I go. Many people live this kind of lifestyle, you know. So this is the kind of things that make a change.
Okay, thank you.
And after that short tour around our residential area, which cluster do you think is, you know, like your favorite amongst those three, like the Sadana, Nifata?
Oh, for me, for sure, the one with the biggest villas, with the biggest plots of land.
That's Nifata.
Yeah,
the biggest
sure.
top house.
Yeah, for sure.
I see. And just before we close off this podcast, it's gonna be the last question. Can you please try and it's not a question, actually. Can you please try and describe Ciputra Beach Resort in 3 words?
Organized, Western.
Western.
That's interesting.
Western.
Private, because here you're quite out from the hustle and bustle there. So you know, I mean, if I would live here, probably I wouldn't meet people I know every single day, like on the bike, which is kind of nice, because sometimes you just, you know, want to be to yourself. And, in Canggu, like, you know every second person already, and it's kind of tiring. So here, privacy, yeah.
I see.
Private area. I see. Okay, so this is what we normally do before closing off the podcast. So I'll say podcast Tepi Pantai, and we're all gonna together say "You ngobro santai." You ready for that?
Wait, you have to repeat this.
I'm gonna
You
say "You ngobro santai."
You know bro santai.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try
Okay.
this one.
So podcast Tepi Pantai.
You
ngobro santai. Thank you so much, Ivan, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for